I thought I had the perfect marriage, the kind people quietly envy. 9 years together, 4 years married. No screaming matches, no slammed doors, just late night laughter, inside jokes, and the kind of comfort that feels like home. So tell me this, what would you do if one single word shattered all of that? And not just any word, but the word settled. Because the night I heard my wife say that she settled for me, something inside me broke in a way I didn't even know was possible. And the worst part? She had no idea I heard it. It was supposed to be a normal night. I told her I'd be working late, maybe even later than usual. Deadlines, emails, the usual grind. Before I left, I told her she could invite her friends over if she wanted. She does that sometimes. Wine, laughter, stories. I never had a problem with it. Why would I? I trusted her. Completely. But that night, something unexpected happened. The rain started pouring. Not the light kind either. The kind that floods streets, slows traffic, and sends people home early. Our office shut down earlier than expected, so I drove back through waterlogged roads, thinking I'd surprise her. I didn't text, didn't call. I just showed up. And that's where everything changed. When I got home, I could hear voices inside. Laughter, glasses clinking. Her friends were there, just like she'd planned. I didn't want to interrupt, so I slipped in quietly, took off my shoes, and headed straight for our bedroom. They didn't hear me, but I heard them. At first, it was just random chatter. Work complaints, relationship jokes, harmless gossip. I wasn't really paying attention. Until a name, her ex, the one who had recently passed away. The room went quieter after that. The tone shifted. You could feel it even from behind a wall. Someone asked her something. I couldn't catch the exact words, but I heard her sigh before answering. And then she said it. She said that 4 years into our relationship, he called her, said he was living in a caravan but wanted to take her away. Travel, see the world, live freely. She laughed a little. And then she said she had a bag packed, ready to leave, ready to walk out on me. I remember standing there, frozen, my hands still on the bedroom door, my heart pounding so loud I thought they'd hear it. But then came the part that hit even harder. She said, in the end, she decided to stay because of the stability I gave her, because I was safe. And then she said it. I guess I settled. I don't even remember breathing after that. One of her friends asked if she ever regretted that decision. And my wife, the woman I thought chose me without hesitation, she said, I used to, but not anymore. Not anymore. That phrase just echoed in my head like a slow, repeating alarm. I don't know how long I stood there. Seconds, minutes, maybe longer. Time didn't feel real anymore. Nothing did. Because suddenly, every memory we had, every laugh, every I love you, every quiet moment, it all started to feel questionable. Was I just the safe option? The backup plan? The guy you choose when the exciting one doesn't work out? I didn't confront her. I didn't walk out and make a scene. I didn't do anything. I just left quietly, the same way I came in. I got back in my car and drove with no direction, until I found a small cafe still open despite the rain. I sat there, staring at a cup of coffee I don't even remember ordering. That word kept repeating in my head. Settled. 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 I started thinking about everything. About myself. About us. Maybe I wasn't exciting enough. Maybe I was too predictable. Too stable. Too boring. Maybe she never really loved me the way I loved her. Or worse, maybe she did love me. Just not enough. At some point, my phone started vibrating. Her name flashed across the screen. I didn't want to answer, but I did. She sounded normal. Casual. Hey, where are you? You were supposed to be home like half an hour ago. Half an hour. I almost laughed. I told her I got caught up at work and would be home soon. My voice sounded strange, even to me. When I walked back into the house, everything looked the same. The lights, the sofa, the life we built. She came up to me immediately, smiling, wrapping her arms around me like she always does. A kiss on the cheek, warm, familiar. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel anything back. She pulled away and looked at me. "What's wrong?" I brushed it off. Said I was stressed from work. She didn't push. We skipped dinner. Skipped our usual time together. I went straight to bed, but I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying her words over and over again. Every time I closed my eyes, I could hear her voice. I settled. At some point, I got up and went to the balcony. The rain had slowed to a soft drizzle. The city lights blurred through the damp air, and I just sat there, thinking about how I might not be enough, about how the person I trusted the most might have chosen me, not out of love, but out of convenience. And the worst part? I couldn't tell anyone. Not my friends, not my family, not even her, because saying it out loud would make it real, and I wasn't ready for that. Morning came without me ever really sleeping. She was still in bed, peaceful, unaware. I stood there for a moment, just looking at her, trying to figure out if the woman I loved was the same woman who said those words. And I realized something terrifying. I didn't know anymore. I didn't know what to do. Do I confront her? Do I pretend I never heard it? Do I walk away before I get hurt even more? Or do I stay and accept that I might never be her first choice? I wish I had answers, but all I had was that one word: settled. And it was slowly tearing me apart from the inside. I didn't confront her that morning. I couldn't. Every time I opened my mouth, I felt like I was about to say something that would change everything. And once it was said, there'd be no taking it back. So instead, I did something I've never done before. I ran, not in a dramatic way. I didn't slam doors or leave a note. I just told her I needed to visit a cousin in a nearby town. I packed a small bag, avoided her eyes as much as I could, and left. She didn't question it. She kissed me goodbye like always, like nothing was wrong. And somehow, that made it worse. Because how could everything feel so normal for her when everything inside me felt like it was collapsing? The drive out of the city felt longer than it actually was. My mind kept replaying that night over and over again, like a loop I couldn't shut off. Every word, every tone, every laugh. I kept trying to reinterpret it, trying to find some version of what she said that didn't hurt as much. But no matter how I twisted it, settled still meant the same thing. I checked into a small motel. Nothing fancy. Just a quiet place where no one knew me, where I didn't have to pretend. And for the first time since that night, I let myself feel it. The anger, the insecurity, the doubt. It hit all at once. I kept thinking about the version of myself she almost left. The guy who thought everything was fine, while she was apparently one phone call away from walking out. Was I that blind? Or was she just that good at hiding it? I picked up my phone more times than I can count. Thought about calling her. Thought about texting her something. Anything. But what would I even say? Hey, did you ever almost leave me for your ex? It sounded ridiculous. And yet, it was real. At some point, I started reading through the responses on the post I had made. I didn't expect much. Maybe a few opinions, maybe someone telling me I was overreacting, but instead, it was chaos. Some people told me to leave immediately, said that once someone sees you as a settle, the relationship is already broken. Others said I misunderstood everything, that context matters, that people say things differently around friends. Some defended her, some tore her apart, and then there were the ones in the middle, the ones who said, talk to her. Just talk. Not with anger. Not with accusations. Just ask. I read every single comment. And the more I read, the more I realized something uncomfortable. I didn't actually want to leave. Not yet. Because despite everything, I still loved her. And I needed to know the truth. Not the version I heard through a wall. Not the version my insecurities were building in my head. The truth. From her. So I stayed there for 2 days. 2 long, quiet days. No distractions, no noise, just me and my thoughts. By the end of it, I made a decision. I wasn't going to assume. I was going to ask. When I drove back home, my chest felt tight the entire way, like I was heading into something irreversible. And in a way, I was. I opened the door, and there she was, waiting. She looked relieved the moment she saw me, like she'd been holding her breath the entire time I was gone. She walked up to me quickly, arms opening for a hug. And this time, I didn't hug her back. Not fully. Not the way I used to. She pulled back almost immediately, confusion written all over her face. What's wrong? There it was. The moment. I could have lied again. Said I was tired. Said work was stressful. But I didn't. We need to talk. Her expression changed instantly. Not defensive, not angry, just worried. We sat down, and for a few seconds, neither of us said anything. I could see it in her eyes. She knew something was off. She just didn't know what. I took a breath, and I asked her something simple. Are you happy with me? She didn't hesitate. Of course I am. I nodded slowly. And do you love me? She frowned slightly, like the question itself didn't make sense. Yes, of course I do. Why are you asking me this? My heart was pounding at this point. Have you always loved me? That one made her pause. Not long, but just enough. Yes, she said. I have. I looked at her for a moment, and then I said it. I heard you. Her face changed. Not confusion this time. Recognition. Fear. A few nights ago, I continued, my voice steady but heavy. When your friends were here, I came home early. Her eyes widened. I heard what you said about the silence that... And then, her eyes filled with tears. No, that's not what I meant. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't interrupt. I just asked one question. Then what did you mean? She shook her head quickly, like she was trying to undo the damage with movement alone. When I said I settled, I didn't mean I chose you because I couldn't do better, she said, her voice trembling. I meant I made a decision. I chose you. I chose to stay. Because you were the better choice. I stared at her. That doesn't make it sound any better, I said quietly. She flinched at that. I know how it sounds, she said, wiping her tears. But that's not what I meant. Back then, I was confused. We had just had a fight. We were on a break. I was emotional. I felt my chest tighten again. You said you had a bag packed. She shook her head immediately. That was an exaggeration, she said. I never actually packed anything. I thought about it. For a moment. Just a moment. A moment where you considered leaving me. Yes, she admitted softly. But I didn't. I didn't choose him. I chose you. Her voice cracked. He called me after he heard about our fight. He said all the right things. Made everything sound exciting. He put you down. Made me question things. And for a second, I wondered. I clenched my jaw. But then I realized something, she continued. Her eyes locked on mine. Everything he was offering, it was temporary. It was a fantasy. With you, it was real. It was stable. It was love. I didn't say anything. I was listening, trying to decide if I believed her. And when I said I regretted it, she added quickly, I meant for a short time, maybe a month. I wondered, what if? That's it. But it went away, because I realized that the best moments of my life, they were all with you. Her voice softened. You made me a better person. I felt something shift inside me. Not completely, but slightly. I asked her one more question. Did anything ever happen? With him or anyone else? She didn't hesitate. No, never. I've never cheated on you. Not once. And I never will. And for some reason, I believed her. We were both crying at that point. Not out of anger, but out of everything we had been holding in. I don't even remember who moved first, but we ended up holding each other tightly, like we were afraid to let go. And in that moment, it didn't feel like I was someone she settled for. It felt like I was someone she chose, over and over again. We stayed like that for a long time, just sitting there, holding each other. Both of us breathing unevenly, like we had just come out of something we didn't fully understand yet. And maybe we hadn't, because even though the words were out, even though the truth had been said, there was still something fragile in the air, something that could break if either of us moved too fast. She pulled back first, just enough to look at me. Her eyes were red, her face tired, but there was something else there too. Fear. Not of me, but of losing me. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Not just for what I said, but for how it sounded. I never thought you'd hear it like that. I gave a small, tired smile. I didn't think I'd hear it at all. That got a weak laugh out of her. And then, silence again. But this time, it wasn't suffocating. It was Processing. I should have told you about that back then, she said after a moment. About the call. About how I felt. I nodded. Yeah, you probably should have. She looked down. I was ashamed, she admitted. Not because I chose you, but because I even considered anything else. I didn't want you to ever feel like you weren't enough. I let that sit for a second, and then I said something I hadn't admitted out loud yet. But that's exactly how I felt. Her head snapped up. When I heard you say you settled, I continued, my voice quieter now, it made me feel like I was the safe option, the backup, the guy you end up with when the exciting one doesn't work out. Her expression tightened immediately. No, that's not... I know, I interrupted gently. I know that's not what you meant, but that's what it felt like. That seemed to hit her harder than anything else I'd said. Because now, she wasn't just explaining herself. She was seeing the damage. I hate that I made you feel that way, she said, her voice breaking again. Because it's not true. You're not the safe choice. You're my choice. I held her gaze. Then why did it sound like you were choosing between me and him? She took a deep breath. Because I was, she said honestly. That answer should have hurt. But somehow, it didn't the way I expected. Not because he was better, she quickly added, but because I was immature. I didn't understand what I had yet. I thought excitement meant something more than it actually did. She shifted closer to me, her voice softer now. With him, it was chaos, uncertainty, big promises, no foundation. With you, it was real life. It was consistency. It was someone who showed up every single day. She placed her hand over mine, and back then, I didn't know how to appreciate that. I exhaled slowly. And now? She didn't hesitate. Now I do. There was no performance in her voice, just certainty. I don't regret choosing you, she continued. I regret that I ever doubted it, even for a second. And I regret even more that I made it sound like you were second best. Because you're not. Her fingers tightened around mine. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. That sentence didn't magically fix everything, but it reached somewhere deep, somewhere that had been quietly breaking since that night. We sat there for a while longer, talking through things we probably should have talked about years ago. About that fight, about the break, about how close we actually came to losing each other without fully realizing it. And the more we talked, the clearer it became. That moment 4 years into our relationship, it wasn't a sign that I wasn't enough. It was a moment where she had to decide what kind of life she wanted. And she chose me. Not because she couldn't do better, but because, to her, I was better. Later that night, everything felt quieter. Not awkward. Not tense. Just calm. We didn't force anything. No dramatic gestures. No over-the-top promises. Just small things. She made dinner. I actually ate this time. We sat together, closer than we had in days. At one point, she leaned her head on my shoulder, and I didn't pull away. That mattered more than anything. When we went to bed, she reached for my hand, and this time, I held hers back, tightly, like I didn't want to let go again. Lying there in the dark, I realized something. Love isn't always clean. It's not always this perfect, uninterrupted feeling where no doubts ever exist. Sometimes, it's messy. Sometimes, people get confused. Sometimes, they say things in the worst possible way. But what matters is what they do when it counts. And when it counted, she chose me. The next morning felt different. Not like everything was magically fixed, but like something had been repaired. Something important. We talked again before I left for work. No tension. No distance. Just honesty. And before I walked out the door, she stopped me. Hey, she said. I turned. I looked at her for a second, and for the first time since that night, I didn't see doubt. I saw her, the woman I fell in love with. I'm glad I did too, I said, and I meant it. Because walking away would have been easier, but staying, asking, listening, that's what saved us. So if you've ever been in a situation where one moment, one sentence, or one misunderstanding makes you question everything, don't rush to destroy something that might still be worth fighting for. Sometimes, the truth is hiding behind the worst possible wording. And sometimes, all it takes is one honest conversation to find it again. But I'm curious, if you were in my place, Would you have stayed and asked? Or would you have walked away the moment you heard that word? Let me know what you think. And if you want to hear more real stories like this, stick around.